Good morning. It's Saturday, and Saturdays are my baking and project days during the school year. Since we homeschool, I have a lot of other responsibilities during the week and don't always get to some of the things that I want to do. So today's project is I'm making chicken soup. When we butcher our chickens, we usually butcher between 40 and 50 chickens, and that gets us through the whole year. Some of those we keep whole because we do like a whole chicken every now and again. But a lot of those we piece out. When we piece them out, I keep the backs and the breastbone. And I freeze them until I'm able to use them. I always think that I'm gonna have time later in the year. Well, this year we're like 2 weeks away from butchering more chickens and I still haven't used the backs from last year. So I took them out of the freezer, put them in my roasting pan. I'm also making bread. I've been making our own bread, our own sandwich bread for about a year, and I will show you a little bit of that as well. So let's get going. Okay, so I'm getting ready to make my soup, and I was just gonna show you a couple of things before I get started. I have my jars. I got wide mouth jars. That way it's easier to dump everything out. Earlier today, I went through and I pulled off the chicken off the bones because I'm using the backs. They do have some meat still left on the bones. So I went through and I pulled the meat off. I have enough meat for about 3 jars of soup. The rest of the broth that I'm going to use, I'm just gonna make broth. I have potatoes here. We did grow potatoes in our garden this year, but I got like 1 basket full. So we bought these from a local farm. These carrots I also buy from a local farm. And those are gonna go in the soup. I need to wash all of this, peel all of this, and just get it ready to go. I think I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons I like to do this is because we take these bones. Now these are from a meal that with either legs or thighs, and I made broth with these. If you boil them for about 24 hours, especially these longer bones, you can get them to where you can literally just break them. You know that they are ready when they are in your broth like this, and you take them out, and you can take this larger part right here and I can literally just crush it with my fingers. Now that they're dried out, it's a little bit harder to do that. So when we use our chickens, we are using as much of the chicken as we can, and we even use it for bone meal in the garden. And the bones are really good for root development. And bone meal is expensive in the store. So it is 1 or 2 extra steps, but it saves money, and I have almost an unlimited supply. So when you are canning any type of meat or broth or vegetables too, green beans for example, you need to use a pressure canner. This is my pressure canner. It's old. My mom gave it to me a couple of years ago so that I could use it. The new ones now have a little gauge where it'll actually tell you how much pressure is in here. But this is what I have. It's a little weight, and it has a 5, a 15, and a 10, and you put it on, and if it rattles, it'll let you know how much pressure is in there. So you gotta listen to it. It's a little bit more, I have to pay a little bit more attention to it than one that would just have a gauge where I can look at the dial. But this is what I use and it's worked great. I cannot pressure can in my house. I have a glass top stove and it is not recommended to pressure can on a glass top stove. So I actually take this outside and I pressure can on my grill because it has a burner, and that has worked really well for me. Also in the summer when I'm canning, it doesn't heat up my house, so that works out good. So has a little nozzle up there, the steam comes out. This red thing is a pressure relief, an emergency release. There is a tray in here because you do not want the cans to sit straight on the bottom of this. And there's actually a second one because if I were to do pint jars, I could actually double stack them. I'm doing quarts today, so I'm gonna put a couple of inches of water in here, get the jars loaded in, and go ahead and can my soup. So I would encourage you, if you are interested in canning, I have a ball canning book and it is very detailed and I really like that. There's so many recipes. And I will link that in the description below because I do follow that for many things that I'm not sure about. They have all the recommendations, the tips, everything is very safe. So I do that. So here's my yeast. I have a couple more minutes on this. I use a milk and a butter recipe, so I put it on the stove, warm it up to 115 degrees, put my sugar in. I usually use honey. I'm out of honey, so I just use cane sugar today. And then I put my yeast in. That sits for about 10 minutes. When that is finished, I will go ahead and put it in the stand mixer, add my flour and salt to it, mix it for 10 minutes, and then I'll have my second batch of dough. Okay, so let's pour this in here. So I have my whole wheat flour, and this bread I make about half and half. So this right here is bread flour, so I'm just gonna dump that in with it. We're slowly switching everybody over to a little bit healthier food, but it takes time. So I have a sprouted bread that I've made, and I enjoy that as well. The kids, they like it better half and half. So I've been making bread for years. My great-grandmother baked, my grandmother baked, my mom baked. So it's just something that I've always enjoyed. And one day I had some friends talking about how they had started to make their own bread from scratch. All of their bread for everything that they use, sandwiches, dinner, whatever. And I thought, you know, I could do that, and I would like doing that. So I came home and I told my husband, I said, I have an idea, which terrifies him every time I say it. And he said, okay, what? So I told him, I think I might start making all of our own bread. And he thought that was the best idea ever, which was kind of scary for me because I thought maybe he would say no and then I wouldn't have to do it. But we've been doing it for almost a year now. And I started out with just white flour, bread flour, just easy recipes that I knew. And as I got more comfortable making it each week, and sometimes I make enough flour or enough bread for several weeks ahead of time. That way if I have a busy week, I don't have to do it. And I just store it in the freezer. But now I just have gotten a little bit better at it, a little bit faster at it, and you just learn and grow and keep trying new things and you find what works. So I'm gonna let this mix for about 10 minutes. So my bread's just about done rising. So I am going to butter my pans and then get my bread in here. And then as soon as I get my bread in here, I'm gonna cover it back up with a towel. Here's some of my bread rising with a towel on it. Cover it up with a towel and it will rise for another half an hour, and then we'll bake it and we'll have 4 loaves of bread for the week. And I've been able to do this in between making some soup today and canning that. That's the nice thing about bread, is it's a few minutes of work and then you just have to wait. So it does take a little while, but a lot of that is waiting for it to rise or to mix or do different things. So it's easy to fit in between other projects. So that's what I'm gonna do now, and then I'll get it in the oven in just about a half an hour, 45 minutes. Okay, so the bread is made and my kitchen's a wreck, and the bone broth and the soup are in the canner and they're almost done. The bones are in the oven drying out, so they just started. I usually have them in for about an hour or so, but I'll check on them every once in a while and move them around. And that's it. So now it's just time to clean up the kitchen again, and that'll be it for the day. Okay, so it's the next day. Yesterday I got some soup made, I got some broth made, and we did bread. I also went through and got the bones out of the broth and was able to dry those, but then I was exhausted. So it's the next day, and I just wanted to show you what everything looked like. So I had enough meat off the bones to make 4 jars of soup with potatoes and carrots. I actually forgot to put the onions in, but that's okay. I can do it later or just in the next batch. But I got 4 jars of soup that we can try. We're gonna probably try one in about a week after it's set for a little while and see how it tastes. And then I had 3 extra jars of broth and a little bit of broth that I left out, and that's in the refrigerator. I'm gonna use that up this week. So after I get done with that, and all the bones were sorted out, I put them in the oven and had them dry, and this is what they look like when they're dry. So they're completely dry and can break really easily. And so in the next couple of days, I'll just put them in my Vitamix dry blender and I will grind them up into powder, and then I will be able to save that for the garden in the spring. And then here's one of my loaves of bread. I got 4, we ate one yesterday, well, half of it, and the other half for lunch today. And then here's my other bread, and I'm gonna slice this up. I wait until it's completely cooled off. I slice it up, put it in a Ziploc bag, and then put it in the freezer, and then I can pull it out whenever we need bread for sandwiches. And that's it. So a lot of work yesterday, but this will last me a long time. And it's funny, I always think, oh, I only got 7 jars of this or a couple of jars of that, but it's amazing how fast it adds up when you do this on a regular basis. So yesterday was a little ambitious, doing more than one project at a time, but it worked out great, and it was a great Saturday. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again soon.